Hello, thank you for stopping by. My name is Jana Leigh, and today I have a book for you called Paradise Down by Maya Hobart. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. And it's a interracial romance. It's a black woman, white man romance. And I used to read these books all the time. And I kind of stopped and got into paranormal romance. I read that a lot. So, anyway, this book is a really good story. I liked it. So, if you want to know more about it, just keep on listening. The main character, her name is Narissa, and she lives in Barbados. She lives in a tiny home by herself, and she's surrounded by her family. So her aunts and cousins, they all live nearby. And everybody is there except her dad. And that's how the story begins. She's on a Skype call with her dad. They Skype, I think it's once a week or once every couple of weeks or something like that. And he's in the United States. He left when she was 12 years old. He's a musician. He's in a band, an Afrocentric fusion of Caribbean, soca, and jazz. And he travels around with the band in the United States. And he hasn't seen her. They haven't seen each other since she was 12. He left on her 12th birthday, and she never knew why. But it gets into it. You find out why it all happened later. But it's always been a sore topic because she missed her dad. He's been a huge missing piece in her life. But anyway, she's basically running her mother's company because her mother is sick. She's on dialysis. And they have a cleaning company. I think it's called Boyce Cleaning Services. Their last name is Boyce. And they have a cleaning service, and they are contracted with a local hotel and resort called Hutchinson Hotel. And Hutch House is where they work, which is the main building of the hotel. And it's run by the Hutchinsons. It's run by Clive Hutchinson. So anyway, her mom is sick, and Narissa is running the company, and she's supervising the employees, and she gives them assignments and what they're supposed to clean and all that stuff. So she's assigned to the upscale rooms in the hotel, and she's cleaning this one particular room 18, I think it says. And she comes in, there's this gorgeous white man. He's asleep in the bed, tossing and turning. And there's a mess in the room, empty alcohol bottles, used condoms, clothes everywhere. So she feels bad for him. So she leaves him to aspirin and a cup of water on the nightstand. And then she leaves. And this goes on for over a week. She comes in, the room is trashed. He's passed out in the bed. Used condoms, clothes, food everywhere. She just leaves him to aspirin, a bottle of water, or a cup of water rather, and then she leaves. But one day, she comes in and he's actually awake. And they talk for a minute, and she is just like so gaga over him. He's gorgeous. And actually, he asked her out. First, he accused her of stealing because he didn't know what she was doing by her nightstand, but all she was doing just giving him more aspirin and a cup of water. So once he figured out that she wasn't stealing, he felt bad, and they talked for a minute, and he asked her out. So they go out. They go out to eat, and he confesses that he's Julian Hudson, not Hudson, Hutchinson, Julian Hutchinson, and he's Clive's son. So, and there's rumors that he's scheduled to take over the hotel when Clive retires, which is soon. So she gets all flustered when she finds out because she doesn't want anything to happen to the contract that she has with the Hutchinson Hotels and Resort. So she just kind of she wants to distance herself from him. But by this time he is like enamored by her. Like he really is intrigued by her. So he just keeps putting himself in her way, I guess you could say. So Julian, he's handling some affairs for his dad, Clive, and he's handling just some business issues. And one of the issue comes up, the boys cleaning company, their contract is up for renewal. And one of the workers had suggested that they found a new company because there's rumor that um, somebody found out that Narissa's mom is sick. And they thought it would be a huge liability and they wanted a company that could be more reliable. They thought that the company might go under because, it's a family business and the leader of the business, the owner, is sick. So it might, the company might go under. But Julian, he plays dumb. He really didn't know. He found out then that her mom was sick. And he knew that the boys' company has been with Hutchinson Resorts for a very long time. And he wanted that loyalty. He wanted to keep that loyalty. So he decided to renew their contract. So the romance between Julian and Narissa, it develops very quickly. Like in the book, they had only been dating maybe a few days and he's already talking about how much he likes her. And not only that, when I read that part, when I was thinking about the romance between these two, I wondered, just first of all, how did it develop so quickly? And why would he be taking these risks just to try to be with her? Because he's having, what's it called, mixing business with pleasure, and it never works out. So I was kind of worried about that. But they only known each other for a few days, and they start to just slowly become just enamored with each other. They were just falling head over heels with each other, which could happen. So, you know, plus it's a story. Plus they were so cute together. I like seeing them together though. But and Julian is very straight to the point, and he tells her that he's fallen for her. And once you hear him say this, you're thinking in your head, they just met each other. So why would he say this? So, but they flirt with each other all the time. And it is so cute. It is so adorable. And one day, Julian's father shows up just suddenly and gives Julian an ultimatum: take over the hotel, or it will be bulldozed. And he gives him until September the 1st. Which is weird because you kind of don't know what month it is already. So when he throws out September 1st, you're thinking, well, what month is it now? And it never alludes to, what time or what month it is currently in the book. So Julian kind of gets offended because up until this point, he was just doing whatever he wanted to do. Just jet setting, sleeping around, womanizing, getting drunk, just doing whatever. So his dad was kind of just over it. Like, look, you need to grow up and choose what you want to do with your life. So either you take over this business or I'm getting rid of it. So, and Julian doesn't want to take over. He wants to be a lawyer. But his dad really wants somebody in the family to take over the business so it can continue to be a Hutchinson business. because he has another son that we learned about later. His name is Hunter, but Hunter is a doctor. Then there's Catherine, but Catherine's kind of doing something else. So, I mean, that's it. So Julian is it. Um, so after his dad gives him this ultimatum, he is scared to tell Narissa because he really doesn't want to take over. And if that he doesn't want to take over, they're gonna bulldoze the property, and Narissa and her family are gonna be out of a job, and so many other people will be out of their jobs just from that. Um, and and Julian and his dad have a very strained relationship. He Clive, he paid more attention to building an empire than being a dad. And that really weighed heavy on Julian. He really missed his dad. He wanted a father figure. He needed a father figure to kind of guide him. And he didn't have that from his father. So he just felt kind of neglected. So they have that type relationship going on. So one day Julian asked Narissa to be his plus one at the reopening of the pavilion at the Hutch House. And she decides to go along. She comes in and she meets all the investors. And she's a big hit. And she ends up bringing in a lot of money. And Catherine is there, which is Julian's sister. She shows up. And I don't think she got to meet her directly, but I think she was aware of her coming in. And she was really impressed with Narissa. But while Narissa was there, she was talking to one of the investors, and he told her that about the hotel possibly getting bulldozed. And this was a shock to her because Julian never mentioned it to her. So she confronts Julian, and he admits that it's true that his father gave him an ultimatum, and he's leaning towards not taking the position because he wants to do something else instead. So she's pissed because she's about to be unemployed. So she runs off. She's ticked off. She's been working her family has been working for the Hutchinsons for a very long time. So she's pissed. And, that's understandable. I'll be pissed too. And so she runs off. Julian chases after her. They eventually make up. Everything is fine for a while. He takes her on a trip, and he tells her that he's going to just take the job. He's going to take over the Hutch house, take over for his dad, because he loves her so much. He wants to be near her. And even though he wants to be a lawyer, he's willing to sacrifice that so he can keep her. He can be near her because he loves her so much. At this point, they're basically inseparable. Like, he's sleeping over at her house like all the time. They're banging like rabbits, So Julian wants to take Narissa to see his family. First, she asked him to come to a family cookout. And she brings him, and everybody likes Julian. They love him and get along very well with him. But Narissa's Aunt Eileen shows up, she's basically a recluse. She's been a recluse for like several years. Nobody knows why. But she shows up. So they're all at the party. Eileen looks over, sees Julian, becomes startled, has this horrified look on her face, and takes off. She just suddenly leaves. Narissa saw this happen, and she took off running after her aunt and confronted her, like, what's going on? But Eileen doesn't really give her an answer. She just kind of alludes that it has something to do with the Hutchinsons, but she wouldn't go any further. She said she didn't want to talk about it. So we move forward. Julie and Narissa continue to hump like rabbits. He takes her to London for Christmas to see his family. And she's very nervous, but his family, they love her. They love her. And she meets his siblings, Hunter, who is a neurologist, and Catherine. And then there's his mom, Sylvie. And there's Carrington, who is his uncle. Now put a pin in Carrington. We're going to come back to, we're going to talk about him for a second. Carrington, also known as Carrie, he's very charming. And you can tell that right from the beginning when he meets Nerissa. He's very charming. You can tell he's a womanizer. And he's Julian's favorite uncle. And basically, he was a father figure to Julian growing up since Clive was nowhere to be found. He was too busy building an empire. She did, however, meet Clive later. She got up in the middle of the night, wanted something to eat. She goes to the kitchen. She runs into Clive. So he made sandwiches for both of them. They sit and chit-chatted for a while. And he seemed to really like her. He became really fond of her. During the visit, they went horseback riding, which is a family tradition. It's some kind of race that they have every Christmas, around Christmas time. And Nerissa, she didn't know how to ride a horse. So Catherine, who is Julian's sister, teaches her how to ride real quick before they go horseback riding. It's like a quick lesson. And then they all take off on the horses. So Nerissa, she's doing really well on the horse. Julian is trying to keep up with her, just to, keep a close eye on her because, he understands that she doesn't really know how to ride and she can be really hurt if, she doesn't know what she's doing. But Nerissa takes off. She's beating Julian and she takes off through the woods. All of a sudden, Uncle Carrie pops up, grabs the reins and stops Nerissa's horse. And she's wondering, like, what the hell going on? Why she thought maybe the race was over. She didn't know what was going on. Then he pushes her off the horse. And she falls to the ground, hurts her wrist. And he hops off his horse and starts, like, creeping, like, walking towards her like he's about to do something. And the way she describes it, she said it looks like he was about to rape her. Like, she said she saw lust in his eyes. So she is like crab walking to get away from him because she couldn't stand right away. She was just in shock and she was just about to scream and Julian shows up. And Carrie lies and says she fell off the horse and he was trying to help her up. And Nerissa just kind of went along with it because, this is supposed to be a happy time. It's the holidays. And she didn't want to ruin it for everybody. So she just went along with the lie. Which I don't know if I would have done that. I think I would have busted him out right then and there. Also during this trip, Clive, who is Julian's father, he becomes ill with heart failure. And they go to a doctor and they find out he needs a heart transplant within the next few months or he'll die. And this devastates his whole family, especially Julian, because they have such a strained relationship. And he hasn't had enough time to, make up he wants them to make up. Like deep down, he wants to make up with his dad. But he feels like time is running out. So he's devastated. But once the trip is over, he stays in the hospital as long as he can. And then when it's time to go back to Barbados, he goes with Nerissa back to Barbados. And she asked him, why didn't you just stay with your dad? And he was like, I told you my heart is with you. I want to be with you. And then plus his mom was going to call and tell him if anything drastic had changed in his dad's health. So he went home. So while they're at home, Nerissa goes to confront her Aunt Eileen about what she said at the party a while back. After some words they exchange between each other, Eileen finally comes clean and says that she dated Uncle Carrie, several years ago. And he was very controlling, manipulative. He was physically abusive. And Narissa confided in her aunt and told her what Carrie did to her during the holidays. And she encouraged her aunt, because her aunt also admitted that Carrie had become really jealous one night because he wanted Eileen to come back to London with him. But she was kind of at the point where she didn't want to do this anymore. She started to understand that it wasn't love that was between them. He was just crazy. Really, if you want to know the truth, he was crazy. And so she wanted a clean break, and he couldn't handle that. So he raped her one night at the hotel. He beat her up and he raped her. And she told this to Narissa, and Narissa was just outraged. Like she encouraged her aunt to tell the authorities. At first she was against it because she didn't know what was going to happen. She knew that the Hutchinsons they are billionaires, and she knew they wielded a lot of power, and she didn't know what they were going to do once this all came out, really. So she was scared, but Narissa kind of encouraged her to come forward, and she said, "I'll do it, but first tell Julian everything that happened." And she meant everything, what Carrie did to her and what Carrie did to Narissa. So Narissa agreed. And once she told Julian what had happened, that's where everything gets crazy. That's when the shit hits the fan. And I'm just going to leave it right there. I'm not going to tell everything. But this was a really good story. Like from the beginning to the very end, it kept me interested. And there were a few grammatical errors in the book, but it wasn't enough. It was very few of them. And it wasn't enough to detract from the story, which is good. And would I recommend the story to somebody else? I would. Because I used to read Black woman, white man, interracial stories like this all the time. I used to read them a lot until I got into paranormal romance. And after reading this book, I remember why I love these stories. It's just they're so I don't know what it is about it. It's very interesting to read people's ideas about interracial dating and seeing the different aspects of it, and I don't know, it's I think it's kind of cool. So I really enjoyed the story. It was good. I would recommend it. I would give it, out of 5 stars, I would give it a 4. 4 out of 5 stars. And I hope you enjoy it. Once again, her name is Maya Hobart. Or Hobart, rather. Maya Hobart. And you can find her book on Amazon. I'm going to put the link in the description box. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and I will see you next time. Bye.